Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Passages from the Heart podcast. I hope that this finds you all doing really well and enjoying the new year. And we're well into it already, I suppose, with it being February 2nd as of this recording. So many things that have been going on. Not a lot of sailing on the actual water, but a lot of sailing related things, I guess, have been happening in my life. First and foremost, the most exciting thing I will tell you that's coming down the pike later this year is that I have been working with Jerome Rand of the Sailing into Oblivion podcast and website, and the same gentleman who wrote the book called Sailing into Oblivion about his 2017 to 2018 solo nonstop circumnavigation around the world aboard his West Sail 32, the Mighty Sparrow. So the last several months I've been consulting with Jerome, and he worked with me with trying to find our new to us sailboat as we did last summer. And you may recall that we purchased a 2002 Com-Pac 25. And this particular boat, although not as large as we were thinking we would go initially we were thinking somewhere between, I would say, 30 to 35 feet. And we were strongly, I guess let's put it this way, it was strongly suggested that sailing on Lake Superior, you might want to find yourself in a boat no smaller than 32 feet in length, but our endeavors to go in that direction didn't prove fruitful. And I honestly was really excited to end up finding the Com-Pac 25 because I love Com-Pacs. As you know, I've had a few of them. And as you know, I also want to sell them. So we did end up going with the Com-Pac 25. And although some of the Com-Pac 25s were not outfitted with inboard engines, ours is. And because of that, and because of other systems that are on board this boat that I don't have aboard my other boats, my other Com-Pacs, my Com-Pac 23 and my Com-Pac Legacy. I do have electrical systems on board both those, but they're not as robust as the one that I have on board Solitude, my Com-Pac 25. So there's a lot more things going on. There's a refrigerator, there's automatic bilge pumps and things that I don't have on the other boats. So Jerome is going to come out and work with us to go over the systems on board our boat and help us to ensure that we will have a good sort of understanding, I guess I would say, although we're only going to be working with him for 3 days, which isn't a whole lot of time. Though I am hoping to hire him again later in the fall to do a second sort of trip on Lake Superior. The first one, as I mentioned, we'll spend basically going over the systems on the boat. We also will plan for at least one overnight out somewhere in the Apostle Island area. I'm not sure where we will go. Probably I'm hoping to Stockton Island. That's one of my favorite islands from the years ago when I did some sailing as a teenager in the Lake Superior area of the Apostle Islands. White sandy beaches and beautiful anchorages, trails to hike, and many of the islands have those sorts of amenities too, but Stockton Island is just one of those that I definitely want to get to this coming season. So I'm a little nervous about Jerome coming because there's a lot I have to do to get ready for before he gets there. Firstly, there is lots of work that I need to do on the boat, and I'm not sure if y'all follow my blog. I wrote a little post that sort of outlines some of the lists of things to do that we will be trying to, in essence, get those tasks accomplished before Jerome comes, because I don't really want to have him spending his time helping us, fix things that need fixing and stuff. That needs to all be done prior to him coming. So just to kind of give you an example from the survey that we had done on the boat, the surveyor had, made that list of things that need attention. And so I'm just going to kind of share with you some of those things to give you an idea of what we're looking to do. I think the thing that kind of scares me the most is that there is a hairline crack. It is literally like a hairline crack where the keel stub meets the hull of the boat. And the surveyor said that he's, almost certain that this is caused by a grounding, which it's odd because the owner of the boat said that he can't ever think of any time that he ran aground where he would have had something like that happen. Although he's the second owner, the boat was previously in Florida, from what I learned, and I don't know what the couple that had the boat then, what sort of sailing they did with it. Maybe the crack occurred with those folks, and the second owner that I purchased from didn't really feel that it was an issue. I don't know. I don't think he had the boat surveyed when he bought it, but I don't remember exactly. But at any rate, our surveyor said, yeah, you should probably look at getting that addressed before you splash the boat this next season, or meaning this season. So we're going to definitely want to get that taken care of. And we need to do that before we do the bottom paint, which that needs to be redone with new anti-fouling. So those are some of the anti-fouling I'm not too nervous about because I've done that before. And it's not necessarily the most fun job, and you got to, get all your gear on for like protection for your eyes and your face and your body with wearing the paper suit and whatnot. But it's certainly something that we can do. But that crack, I don't have any experience doing, fiberglass work of any kind. So guess what? It's time to learn by doing. So I am going to work, I hope the marina, they have this thing where you can sort of hire them in just kind of a mentorship sort of role. So for example, they wouldn't do the work. It would be something where they would sort of guide me in the process, or I would consult with them to make sure that what I'm doing is the proper way of doing it. And of course, you want to make sure you do things the proper way on boats, especially when there's cracks in the keel. So I'm looking forward to learning how to go about doing all that, because that's a really good skill to have as a boat owner, of course. But some of the other things that aren't quite as, I think, as daunting on the list would be, so we have there's a leak in our little cockpit shower faucet that there's like in the connection somewhere, there's some sort of a leak. The head has some issues. So the surveyor told us that there's a weak pump seal, so we'll have to get that taken care of. I don't think it fills as quickly or something with the pump. So I don't think we need a whole new head from what I gather, but it sounds like there's, some seals and such that need to be repaired or replaced, I guess is the better way to say it. Oh, yeah. So here's another one that's a little bit scary. The manual bilge pump hose has a hole in it. So when we did the survey, the automatic bilge pump worked just fine. However, when we were trying to use the manual bilge pump, it was just like nothing was happening. And the surveyor realized that's because there was a hole in the hose. So that is going to need to be replaced. There are also some issues, just little small things with the batteries that need to be done. He mentioned that we need to get some covers for the positive battery terminals and posts, and that I've seen this before in boats too, where people use wing nuts on the batteries. And so this guy's, the surveyor, is telling us we need to replace those with self-locking hex nuts. The other thing that will be an easy repair is the sacrificial anode on the shaft. So I didn't know this, but apparently if you are in fresh water, you're supposed to use a magnesium anode. Oh yeah, so the steaming bulb on the mast, we need to get that repaired, and the mast is up with the boat in storage right now. We stored her with the mast up, so that's going to entail going up the mast to do that, which should be a real test of my, I'm not really totally afraid of heights, but Weirdly, I didn't used to be at all afraid of heights as a younger person, but I've noticed that as I've gotten older, it's something that kind of does bother me on occasion. I think I'm going to wear a helmet when I go up just because I've actually heard on Paul Trammell's offshore sailing and cruising podcast, I think he uses an old ski helmet or something like that. And I have a ski helmet and a bike helmet, and I'm going to use one of the two of them because you just never know. It's, it's not a super high mast, of course, on that boat, but, falling from any height can be dangerous. Something else with the prop shaft is that the surveyor said the diameter for it is incorrect. And apparently there's some sort of a formula about what the diameter specification should be. And I don't know the formula offhand. It's actually in the survey. I don't have that handy in front of me, but he didn't seem to think it would be a huge issue, but apparently because of the diameter not being completely accurate as to what it should be ideally, that it could cause some excess vibration, and that's something we need to keep an eye on in the future, so that, I guess it could end up being a problem if we're not kind of staying on top of that. So yeah, I guess it would mean I would have to get a new shaft that's the proper diameter, and that probably would be pretty involved, I guess. But again, I really have no knowledge of how to maintain diesel engines and their associated parts. So this is all going to be new territory for me. Territory that's really, territory that I've wanted to travel into, but in the past with the other boats that I had, I steered away from it because, where I live, it's not a very maritime area, and finding professionals who work on diesel engines and prop shafts and fiberglass work, there really aren't a whole lot of people in the area that do those sorts of things. And so I just sort of thought, well, let's just sort of keep things simple. And so that's why I tried to stick with boats that had fewer systems, or even more simple systems, even though I think my boat really would be considered a pretty simple system type of boat compared to a lot of other cruising boats that are out there, for sure. But there's definitely a lot more to know than what I've currently had to deal with. So yeah, I didn't, really want to go into, in fact, if you've been sort of following along my journey, getting back into sailing, I had a boat, another Com-Pac 23 I purchased, oh gosh, was it in 2022 maybe? Really nice boat that had been outfitted for coastal cruising. So I think the second owner built a full galley in there basically, as opposed to the little slide out one, which Charm has, my 23 right now. She has a slide out sink on the that comes out of the starboard quarter berth area, and then on the port side quarter berth area there's a slide out where your stove goes. So this guy with this other Com-Pac 23 I had, her name was Nomos, and he actually wrote some articles about her for Good Old Boat magazine. One being a article about how he designed this whole mast raising system for the boat. And anyway, so he did a lot of modifications to the boat, and just, she did also have a diesel engine, also this 23 footer with a diesel, because you could get your Com-Pac 23 outfitted with that if you wanted from Com-Pac directly, which that boat had that. And it just so happened during this time when I bought the boat, the inventory was really, there wasn't a whole lot of inventory. And based upon what I could find, this really seemed like this boat would be a good option for me. And I wasn't really thinking ahead about who's going to help me with the diesel engine if I have a problem, who's going to help me with this propane system or this electrical system, because there was a lot, like I said, there was a lot that this second owner had done to make this boat equipped for sailing up in Alaska, in the Sea of Cortez, in the Gulf of Mexico. There's all sorts of places this boat had a past histories of sailing in waters that are not inland lakes like where I sail. It was daunting to me once I got the boat. I kind of freaked out, to be honest with you, especially after the marina basically let the diesel mechanic go. They parted company. And when that happened, and when I was told that they had no plans to replace that person, I thought, oh my God, this is not good. And, I just really didn't feel comfortable keeping the boat when I didn't feel that I had access to help to work on the boat if something should come up that exceeded my level. And I know everybody always says, oh, you should just YouTube it or just read some books, which that's all fine and well, but sometimes that doesn't always address the problem fully. So it's nice to have people who have experience that you can have come out to the boat and actually have eyes on it with you. And that's why I felt so confident moving forward with the Com-Pac 25, keeping the boat up on Lake Superior at the marina where I am. There's all sorts of people that have the know-how or the expertise to work on the types of systems that the boat has. In fact, the marina where I'm keeping the boat, they actually are certified to work on, I have a Westerbeek, so they're Westerbeek certified, mechanics. So that'll be awesome. And sure I'm going to learn a lot from them on that too. But at any rate, yeah, lots of tasks to do on the boat before Jerome arrives. And once he gets here, I just want to focus really more so on, again, learning the systems on board the boat and strategies and tactics for sailing, anchoring out, docking. Docking is something I think that from what I hear, even seasoned sailors say it can be an unnerving experience for them too. So, in every situation, it's going to be different too, depending upon the conditions. There's always some sort of variable that will factor in that may make taking the boat out or bringing the boat back in a little different. So the only way you really can, I think, overcome the anxiety about that is just to do it many times over and over and over. We'll work on that. And like I said, anchoring out is something else that I want to feel confident and comfortable doing. I'm not really sure the anchor we have for our new boat. It's a spade type anchor, and it seems kind of small for the size of our boat, but I'm going to have to do some research on that. And I think also, just trying to learn about the bottom of the anchorages. Typically there's a lot of rock, I think, from what I hear in the Apostle Islands, and then a lot of sandy areas too. And so you want to make sure you have the appropriate anchor to work with the types of bottoms that will be in the areas that we'll be visiting and anchoring out. So yeah, super stoked for Jerome to come out in June. We're going to work with him in early June for, like I said, 3 days. And I think I even told him that, my goal one day would be to do the Trans-Superior race, which is a race across Lake Superior that the boats start out of Sault Ste. Marie and sail from east to west across Lake Superior to Duluth, Minnesota was the finish. Typically speaking, most boats take anywhere from 3 to 4 days, and then some even as long as a week. The smaller boats can take up to a week sometimes. And of course, it also depends on the conditions as well. But that is a goal of mine, that I would love to be able to do that race on our boat. Probably not going to happen this summer, obviously, but it would be great to do that one day. And it's not so much about winning the race. It's just about being able, that's not what's important to me. I'm not really in it for the competition with the other people. I would be in it for the competition of testing myself mentally, physically, to be able to do it. Lake Superior is no joke when it comes to sailing. There's all sorts of crazy conditions that you can get there that you would just get out on offshore sailing in the ocean, same sorts of things. So you really need to, know what you're doing to work in all sorts of conditions that might come your way. One of the things I learned this past summer is, typically speaking, winds will come, I think, out of the northwest or west, sometimes the southwest. And, depending upon where you are in the lake, like, for example, if you've got the waves coming out of the northeast, or I'm sorry, the wind coming out of the northeast on the lake, down by the Apostle Islands, you're going to have a lot of wave buildup because the fetch is going to have had a lot of time to build up from the northeastern shores of the lake to reach down into the southwestern shores near where the Apostle Islands and Bayfield are located, which is near where we will be. So, you got to take those sorts of things into consideration. And I think I might have mentioned too, when we were looking at this boat, Siskiyou Bay Marina, this beautiful Pacific Seacraft 31 that I just loved. There was a woman there who, I can't remember what type of sailboat they had, but they've been cruising on Lake Superior for years. And we were just talking about how we were looking for a boat and we were excited to cruise the Apostle Islands. And she said, "Oh, we call them the Apocalyptic Islands." I was like, uh-oh, well, I never heard that one before. And it's basically, I think that it's just because the weather can be really wild and sometimes very unpredictable and not according to what forecasts will tell you. And often, apparently, that there isn't always a place to seek shelter in the islands area. So, which sort of surprised me. But again, these are all things that I'm learning about the lake and the things that you need to be able to know and do to sail safely on the lake. Other sailing activities that I've been sort of filling my time with since the season ended for us last fall is keeping up with these races that have been going on. There are a few. The Vendée Globe 2024-2025, we've been following that very closely, watching the Vendée live show almost every night, keeping up with where the sailors were since they started the race back on November the 10th. And I think now I'm thinking there's 15 people that have finished so far out of 35 boats. And I think 4 or 5 of them had to abandon the race due to various failures of different parts of the boat. One person in particular that we've been following really closely and come to really root for is Pip Hare of Pip Hare Ocean Racing out of Poole in England. And, her story is, I think, one of the reasons why we find her so interesting and inspiring is that, she really didn't have a background growing up in sailing as a real young person. She sort of got into it, I think, as a teenager, taking some lessons and then, loved it and just decided that she wanted to be a professional sailor. And the hurdles that she's had to go through to be able to reach the sort of caliber of the Vendée Globe is pretty amazing. Not just with, the qualifications as far as they go with doing the races that you have to do. It's a lot of it's like this whole fundraising aspect, which just is mind blowing. How much money you need to have to be able to do these kinds of races. She actually released a book last fall that I got, and I just started reading it. And I think she said that a new boat, a new Amoca Class 60 boat usually runs about $5 million. So some of these sailors in this particular Vendée Globe had brand new boats. It's just, and then on top of that, she said that typically the race is every 4 years and that teams usually need on average $20 million to prepare for the Vendée Globe race. So that's just staggering. I cannot even imagine. I just can't even imagine that. I actually had the opportunity to work with a sailor who is in the 2026 Golden Globe race. And I was initially trying to help work on the fundraising campaign for that. And I mean, the goal with that was around $300,000. And so when you look at $300,000 compared to $25 million, it's crazy. And, the Golden Globe race is also a solo, nonstop, unassisted around the world race, as is the Vendée Globe. However, with the 2026 Golden Globe race, it is modeled after the 1968 Golden Globe race, where sailors sailed. I don't remember the smallest or largest sailboats in those races, but probably some of the most notable people that you might have heard of course, are Sir Robin Knox Johnston, who won the race in his boat, and then Bernard Moitessier, who had the boat called Joshua, and he never. I just actually finished reading his book, The Long Way, 2 nights ago. Really great book about his 1968 Golden Globe race that he decided not to finish. And I won't give it all away. So if you haven't read that book, you should really read it if you love sailing and are looking for a book to not only just sort of learn more about sailing offshore in a race that is around the world, solo, nonstop, unassisted. It's just really interesting to hear just some of the thought processes and feelings that these people go through on these sorts of races, which, getting back to the Vendée Globe, same sort of thing. The isolation of being alone on a boat for the Vendée Globe racers, between 2 to 3 months on average, and the length of time it's taking for these boats, these IMOCA class 60 boats with the foils, to do the race. I think that they broke the record by several days from the last record that was set in terms of the fastest time to complete the around the world circuit. And again, I don't remember the numbers on that, but it was literally, I think, days that they broke the record by. So these boats go so fast. It's unbelievable. But getting back to Pip and her story, she had a dismasting during the race, and it was just heartbreaking. I mean, all of the time and effort the last 4 years that she and her team spent to prepare for this race. And, she was, I think, about 1,000 miles southwest of Australia in the Southern Ocean when it happened. And I think they never figured out what happened to cause the failure of the dismasting. But just absolutely, again, just heart-wrenching, this massive disappointment for her and the team. But what does she do? She figures out how to jury rig her boat 3 hours after it happens. And it's just so inspiring. So she gets this jury rig set up on her boat. And I'm not sure if she used an outrigger or if it wasn't her boom. She had to cut, I think, the whole rig off, except for I think she called it just like a stub, like just a little over a meter was left of the mast at the where the mast is stepped on deck, I guess. I think it's a deck step mast. I could be wrong on that. But at any rate, there's only just like this little stub left of the mast. Everything else went overboard. And so she created this jury rig and then had to, cut some sails down to. She ended up being able to, she didn't use or make a boom, but she was able to set a head sail, and then she set, I think it was a trysail maybe. I can't remember, but she had 2 sails that she was able to finally jury rig. And she started this little series on her YouTube channel called the Slow Boat to Melbourne. So Melbourne is in Australia is where she decided was the closest place to seek safety, to get her boat back there safely. And I think it took her maybe 2 weeks to do that journey from after the mast came down, and she fitted the boat with the jury rig. And yeah, just an amazing story. If you haven't really followed that yet, I would definitely recommend checking out her YouTube channel, Pip Hare Ocean Racing, I think. And you can watch all the different, basically every day she did an update for 2 weeks talking about the journey from, 1,000 miles offshore, sailing with the jury rig to get the boat back safely. Just, again, it's an amazing story. So some of the other races we've been following, although I haven't been following as closely, but I will, since now the Vendée Globe is sort of wrapping up to some extent, at least with the live shows that they're doing, is that the same people who put on the Golden Globe race, they also have a couple of really cool races for the little mini 5.8 meter boats. The one that's currently underway I think they call it it's not the mini globe. That's the one that's going to start after this one, but it's basically a group of sailors, maybe about 15 to 20, that have these, I believe, home built 5.8 kit boats that they sail from Lanzarote, or Lanzarote. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I should figure that out. In the Canary Islands. They start there and they sail across the Atlantic, and the finish is in Antigua in the Caribbean. It's basically modeled after the mini Transat race, which tends to be kind of more the breeding ground, if you will, for the Vendée Globe and Class 40 racing that goes on. So a lot of the Vendée Globe sailors often will start, it sounds like from what I've learned, they start off in the mini Transat type of races, sailing across the Atlantic. And then a lot of those people from there go to the Class 40, and then from the Class 40 often moving up to the AMOCA Class 60 racing. So this mini globe and I can't remember the name of the one that's currently underway. It's again where the boats are just racing from the Canary Islands to Antigua. And then once that race is over, there is another race that's called the mini globe that starts from Antigua, and it's, I believe, all around the world solo race in these little 5.8 meter sailboats that are home built. So that's pretty amazing. That's something that I can't wait to follow that race as well. So I actually have my computer here. I'm going to look up those names of those races so that you guys can check them out. And I'll be back in just a minute with that information. And we're back. The race that starts from the Canaries and finishes in Antigua is called the Globe 580 Transat, and the website is literally globe580transat.com. Definitely check out this Globe 5.80 Transat race. It's a mini adventure, 3,600 miles across the Atlantic in the boats that are these little 5.8 meter sailboats that are home built. And then the other race that starts from Antigua a little later on is called the Mini Globe, miniglobe.race.com. You will see that in this race, there are 15 entrants so far. It looks like, I'm assuming that's probably all of them. Many of these people are people who already are racing in the Globe 5.80 Transat race. One of the people that I correspond with on occasion on the Com-Pac Yacht Owners Forum website actually met one of the entrants for this race. His name is Joshua Kali, and or Kali. And I guess he kind of was hunkered down in Oriental, North Carolina, where my friend lives, and he got to see his boat. And if you check out the Com-Pac Yacht Owners Forum, you'll see under the Sailors Lounge area, there's a little thread where he talks about it and some links to Josh's website and some socials for him, etc., if you're interested in sort of following along with his journey. So yeah, lots of fun sailing things that have been going on since I'm not able to get out on the water myself and sail. It's been a blessing to be able to have these races to follow and live vicariously through the adventures that these other sailors are having, and learn from, the things that are going on in their lives as they're out on the water with their boats under varying conditions. So I guess that's pretty much where things are right now with me. And I will close with just saying that I'm really excited for this sailing season to come. We're now into February, and I think this is the time of year where people are going to start boat shopping. And on that note, if any of y'all are interested, I will likely be listing Charm for sale. I will be creating probably an ad sometime in early March for that. If any of you might be interested, just feel free to give me a shout out. And of course, I can share more information with you about her. Charm will be splashed again here this summer. I will be planning on sailing her on the time that we're not able to get to up to Lake Superior, but I think that it would make sense to maybe find a new captain for her, someone who can sail her more regularly, since we probably won't be doing that this season. So that's sort of the plan for now. Not set in stone, but just something that I'm sort of, I've got in the back of my mind that I need to be, practical. And as much as I love having Charm in my life and that she's an amazing boat, it may make more sense to find her next captain. Okay, with that, I'll talk to you next time. And until then, fair winds. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are getting something out of my podcast series, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and stop by for a visit on my website at passagesfromtheheart.wordpress.com.